I never thought I'd be the type to get blindsided like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years. We met in college, got married young, and for a long time things seemed pretty solid. Sure, we had our arguments, mostly over money or her bitchy attitude when she thought I wasn't pulling my weight. But overall, I thought we were good. Or at least, I wanted to believe that. Looking back now, I can see the signs were there, but I kept ignoring them. She'd be distant sometimes, acting all busy and nonchalant, brushing off my questions about her plans or where she'd been. It started with little things, missing her phone, unexplained late nights, odd texts she'd quickly hide when I walked into the room. I didn't want to face it, but deep down, I figured she was probably just cheating on me, or at least considering it. Still, I told myself I was overthinking, that she loved me, that I was paranoid. Then about 2 weeks ago, I noticed something strange. She'd been disappearing after work more often, saying it was extra meetings or some team project. But I knew her schedule. Her job as a marketing manager doesn't usually have after-hours stuff that long. One night, I decided to follow her. I didn't plan to do anything, just to see where she went. I figured she was meeting up with friends for drinks or whatever. What I saw that night shook me to my core. She didn't go to a bar. Instead, she drove to some industrial part of town, an area I'd never been in, full of warehouses and abandoned buildings. I parked a block away and watched her go inside a building that looked like a prototype farm. It was after hours and the place was dimly lit, but I saw her go in with another man, tall, wearing a hoodie, and I instantly recognized him. It was Martin, the architect we hired for our vertical farm project. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I had no idea she knew him that well, let alone that they'd be meeting after hours in some sketchy-ass farm facility. My stomach dropped. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I stayed hidden, watching her and him go into what I later found out was a prototype agricultural design facility, some kind of secret project she'd been involved in through her work, I guess. She lied to me about the meetings, the long hours, everything. That night I couldn't sleep. It was like a switch had gone off in my head. I kept replaying the scene, her laughing with him like they weren't doing something shady, and I felt this boiling rage rising inside me. How could she do this? How could she lie so effortlessly and act like I was overreacting if I ever brought anything up? It was like she thought she was untouchable, that she could get away with anything. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I needed proof, and I needed her to admit it. The next morning, I started digging. I found out from some old contacts that she'd been sneaking out at night for weeks, meeting with Martin after hours. I found some texts on her phone, nothing explicit, but plenty suggestive enough to know there was something more than just working late. My stomach clenched every time I read her so-called innocent messages, defending him like he was some kind of friend. She always called him just a colleague or the architect, but I knew better now. That was bullshit. I felt betrayed in every possible way, not just because she cheated, but because she lied and played me for a fool. All those years I thought I was the one loving her, supporting her, building a life. Turns out she had been sneaking around with a guy who was supposed to be just her professional contact. But it wasn't just about the cheating. It was the fact that she'd been lying right to my face, all while I was clueless, pouring my heart into what I thought was a marriage built on trust. I didn't want to lose my mind over this, but it was hard. I had moments where I just sat there, staring at my phone, feeling numb, trying to process how someone I loved and trusted so much could do something so cold and calculated. I thought about confronting her then and there, but part of me knew it was better to plan my next move carefully. I had to be smart about it. I couldn't just blow up without knowing exactly how deep her lies went or what she was capable of. What made it worse was her attitude when I finally did bring it up. She brushed it off like I was overreacting, called me paranoid, told me I was crazy for even doubting her. The way she spun her lies, the way she looked at me with that bitchy smirk, like I was just some naive husband who didn't see what was right in front of him, made my blood boil. I'd never felt so humiliated, so pissed. It was like she thought she could just keep doing whatever she wanted and I wouldn't find out. Now I'm stuck in this mess, trying to figure out how to get through it. Do I confront her again? Do I just cut my losses and leave? Every moment I'm awake, that image of her sneaking into that dark farm after hours keeps flashing in my head. I don't know how I'm supposed to come back from this, and honestly, I don't even know what I want anymore. All I know is I'm hurt, angry, and betrayed, more than I ever thought I could be in my own damn marriage. After a few days of sitting with this mess in my head, I decided I couldn't just keep pretending I didn't know the truth. Ignoring it wasn't going to make the pain or the betrayal go away. I needed to face it head on. So I planned my next move carefully, figuring I'd get her to admit what I already knew. I wanted her to own up to it, to see how much she'd hurt me, how deep her lies went. One evening, I waited until she got home from her meeting, which I already knew wasn't just work-related. She strolled in, all bitchy and dismissive, flipping her blonde hair over her shoulder like she owned the place. I was sitting on the couch, calm but firm, trying to keep my voice steady. I didn't want her to see how much she'd rattled me, but I also didn't want to come across as weak. "So, Lisa," I started, trying to keep my tone even, "I saw you last night. Went to that warehouse again, huh?" Her eyes widened, and she immediately tried to act like she had no idea what I was talking about. She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Oh, please, Jake, I don't know what you're on about. You're imagining things." I shook my head, frustration bubbling up. "No, I'm not. I followed you. I saw where you went. You met Martin after hours in that prototype farm, and don't lie to me. I already saw the texts. I know what's been going on." Her face twisted into that familiar smirk, like she was trying to dismiss me, make me look crazy for even suspecting her. "You're overthinking," she shot back, crossing her arms tightly. "You're just jealous because I spend more time with my work than with you. Typical. I've got a career, Jake. I'm not some little housewife who waits around for her husband to come home and cook dinner." That comment hit me hard. I'd always supported her ambitions, but hearing her say that, like I was some kind of obstacle, made me feel like shit. Still, I kept my cool. "That's not it. You're cheating. You're lying. You think I don't know what you're doing. It's obvious. You've been sneaking around with him for weeks." Her eyes narrowed and she snapped, "Oh, so now you're accusing me of cheating? You really think I'd do that, after everything we've built? You're crazy, Jake. You're just insecure." Her tone was biting, her words sharp. She was trying to spin it all like I was the problem, but I could see the guilt behind her eyes. She was trying to hide it, but I knew better. The rage inside me was building. I wanted to shake her, scream at her, make her see how much she'd destroyed what we had. But I knew I had to stay focused. I said, "Don't lie to me anymore, Lisa. I saw the messages. I saw how you defend him like he's some victim, how you sneer when you talk about me. How long has this been going on? Weeks? Months?" She hesitated for a moment, then threw her head back with a condescending laugh. "Weeks? Months? You're just making shit up, Jake. This is what happens when you're so insecure. Maybe if you paid more attention, you'd notice that your wife is busy working and not some cheating slut." Her words stung, but I was already past caring. I was furious, feeling the betrayal burn deep in my chest. The confrontation turned even nastier. She started contradicting herself, lying more convincingly, throwing out excuses. "It's not what you think," she said, brushing her hair back. "We're just working on something for a client. It's all professional. I swear you're just seeing things that aren't there." I wasn't buying it anymore. I could see the truth in her eyes. She was guilty as hell. That moment crystallized everything. She had been lying, sneaking around, and I'd been blind to it. My mind was racing, trying to piece everything together, trying not to explode from the pain. I felt my hands clenching into fists, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. That night I lay in bed wide awake, staring at the ceiling. The betrayal hit harder than I expected. Every thought was a mix of anger, sadness, and confusion. I wondered how I hadn't seen it sooner, why I'd ignored all the signs. It was like a punch to the gut, realizing I'd been living in a lie. I'd given her my trust, my love, and she'd thrown it all away for some secret fling with her architect. The worst part, the fucking arrogance she showed, acting like I was the crazy one for suspecting her, like she'd outsmarted me. That she could keep sneaking around and I'd never find out. I felt disgusted, humiliated, and cheated on every level. How could she do this? Was I that blind? Had I been so stupid to think we had some perfect life? I knew I had to make a decision soon. I couldn't keep living like this, walking around with this secret weight on my chest. I had enough evidence now. I just needed to decide what to do with it. Confront her again, or just end things and walk away. Either way, I knew life was about to change forever. The next couple of days were a blur. I couldn't focus on anything else. Every time I looked at Lisa, I felt this mix of anger and heartbreak that made my stomach churn. I didn't want to believe she was capable of this, but the evidence was irrefutable. I kept replaying everything in my mind. The secret meetings, her dismissive attitude, the way she lied so effortlessly. It was like I'd been living in a delusion, and now that I'd woken up, I couldn't go back to that naive comfort. I knew I had to get some space. I needed to think clearly without her constant bullshit. So I booked myself a night at a cheap hotel downtown, just a couple of days away, where I could breathe without her sneering or dismissing me. I needed to detach from her for a bit, to gather my thoughts and figure out my next step. This wasn't just about infidelity anymore. It was about my own dignity and self-respect. That night, I sat in the hotel room staring at the ceiling, realizing how much I'd trusted her, how much I'd believed in us. It stung to think that all those years of building a life together had been based on a lie. I couldn't help but feel like I'd been so blind, so naive to think she was the woman I fell in love with. Instead, she was someone entirely different, cold, cunning, and willing to lie and cheat behind my back. The worst part was the emotional whiplash. One minute I was boiling with rage, ready to confront her with everything I had, and the next, I felt this crushing wave of sadness. Was I even capable of fixing this? Could we salvage what was left, or was it already too broken? I kept telling myself I'd give her a chance to explain, but honestly I wasn't sure if I wanted to hear her lies again or if I'd rather just walk away. I called my best friend Mike that night. I needed someone to talk to, someone who knew me well enough to give honest advice. I spilled everything from the first sign of trouble to the secret meetings at the farm, the lies, her dismissive attitude when I confronted her. Mike listened patiently, then said, "Jake, this is bad, man. You've got proof now. You either confront her again and demand answers, or you cut her loose. You deserve better than a wife who's been screwing around and lying to your face." His words hit home. I knew I couldn't keep living in this state of limbo. I had to decide whether to fight for the marriage or to walk away. I was leaning toward the latter, but part of me still clung to the hope that maybe, just maybe, I could salvage something. That hope was starting to fade, though, with every new lie I uncovered. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. How dare she treat me like I was stupid, like I wouldn't find out. I kept thinking about her bitchy attitude, her sneers, the way she dismissed my feelings, all while sneaking around with Martin. It was like she enjoyed the power she had over me, like she was some kind of puppet master pulling strings. And Martin, I swear, I'd never hated anyone as much as I hated that guy. He was the one who betrayed me the worst because I had thought he was just some professional acquaintance, but he was in on it too. I decided I'd go back home the next day and face her one last time. Not necessarily for a reconciliation, but to get some closure. I knew I needed to hear her explain herself, even if I already knew the answer. I had to see how far gone she was, how deep her lies went. Plus, I wanted to catch her in a lie if I could. I needed the truth, raw and ugly, to make my decision. That morning, I packed my bag and headed back. Every mile I drove, I felt more and more like I was heading into some kind of trap. But I also knew I couldn't keep running from this. I had to face it head on. When I pulled into the driveway, my heart pounded, part dread, part anger. I was about to see her again, and I wasn't sure what I'd find. Was she going to lie her way out of it? Or was she finally going to admit what she'd done? I opened the door and she was sitting on the couch, her arms crossed, that bitchy smirk on her face. She looked at me like I was an inconvenience, like she was already done with this whole thing. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I knew this was probably going to be the most important conversation of my life, and I had to be ready. Whatever she said, whatever her excuses, I was prepared for it. I needed the truth, and I was determined to get it. I slid the door shut behind me, and she looked up, that smirk still plastered on her face. It made me want to explode, but I took a deep breath instead. I needed to stay in control, even if inside I was burning with rage. I looked straight at her and said, "Lisa." I know what you've been doing. I saw you with Martin. I saw the texts. You've been sneaking around after hours, lying to my face, and I want to hear it from you straight up. Tell me what's really been going on." Her eyes flicked just for a second and then she scoffed. "You're insane, Jake. You're imagining things. I don't know what you're talking about. Martin is just a client. We've been working late, that's all. You're being paranoid like always." I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. "Don't bullshit me. I followed you. I know exactly where you've been. Those nights at the farm, the secret meetings. Do you think I'm stupid?" She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms tighter. "You're so insecure, it's pathetic. You're just jealous because I spend more time at work than with you. That's why you're making shit up. You're the one who's losing it, not me." Her words cut deep. I felt like I'd been punched again. That she could lie so effortlessly, dismissing everything, made my stomach churn. But I wasn't about to let her get away with it anymore. "No," I said coldly. "I've had enough of your lies. I saw you in that warehouse. I saw how you look at him, the way you defend him like he's some innocent victim. How long has this been going on? Weeks? Months?" Her expression flickered and she quickly recovered. "You don't know what you're talking about. You're just trying to control me. I'm not cheating on you. You're paranoid, Jake." I shook my head, feeling my patience evaporate. "Stop lying. I know everything. I saw the messages. I know you lied about being busy with work. I know about the prototype farm meetings. You've been sneaking around and I'm done pretending I don't see it." Her eyes narrowed and she leaned forward, voice dripping with disdain. "You really think I'd do something that stupid? Cheat on you with some architect? You're delusional. I don't have time for this bullshit." I stared her down. "You're lying. I've seen it all. And I don't get why you're acting like you're so innocent. You think you're clever, hiding it behind your fake excuses. But I know the truth now. You've been screwing around behind my back and I'm sick of your lies." A tense silence filled the room. Her face was flushed, her eyes darting around, trying to come up with another lie, another excuse. But I wasn't buying any of it. I felt this overwhelming mixture of shock and fury. How someone I loved and trusted could do this to me. How she could look me in the eye and deny everything, even knowing I had proof. I stepped closer, voice sharper. "If you think you can keep hiding this, you're dead wrong. I deserve better than this. I deserve honesty. So tell me, are you cheating? Yes or no?" For a moment she said nothing. Then she scoffed again, shaking her head. "You're crazy, Jake. You're making this up. Why would I cheat on you with Martin? Come on, you really think I'd do that? You're just insecure." That was the final straw. I felt my temper surge. I looked at her, the woman I thought I knew, and realized just how much she'd turned into someone I didn't recognize. This wasn't the woman I fell in love with. This was a manipulative, lying bitch who had been playing me for months. I stepped back, voice trembling with rage. "You're right, I am insecure because I trusted you and you threw that trust away. You lied to my face, cheated behind my back, and for what? Some stupid affair with your architect. You think I'm going to let this slide?" Her eyes flashed with contempt. "Fine, Jake, if you want to believe the worst, go ahead. But I swear to God you're imagining things. You're crazy and I don't have to listen to this anymore." That was it. I knew I couldn't keep pretending she was innocent. Deep down, I already knew what I had to do. I felt this strange mix of heartbreak and anger, knowing my marriage was crumbling before my eyes. I was overwhelmed, unsure how to move forward, but I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't going to sit here and be lied to anymore. If she wanted to keep fooling herself, that was her choice. But I was done. Done with the lies, the betrayal, and the fantasy of a marriage that was never real. The confrontation left me drained, but I knew I couldn't just walk away without making things clear. I looked her in the eye, voice low and steady, and said, "You can lie all you want, Lisa, but I've seen enough. I know what you've been doing, and I know you've been lying to me from the start. If you think I'm just going to forget about this, you're dead wrong. I need some time to think, but know this, you've broken whatever little trust we had left, and I don't see how we come back from this, not now." Her smirk faded a little, replaced by a look of pure disdain. "You're overreacting. You always blow things out of proportion. I don't have time for your crazy accusations. You're just jealous because I'm successful and I have a life you don't understand." That was the moment I decided I'd had enough of her lies and her manipulation. I told her, "You want to call me insecure or jealous? Fine. But I'm not stupid. I see what you're doing and I'm not going to pretend it's okay anymore. You can keep lying to yourself, but I'm done being naive about who you really are." I left her standing there, seething, her face a mask of contempt, and I headed straight to a friend. Place. I needed somewhere to process this, somewhere I could breathe without her sneering at me. I stayed there that night, trying to ignore the heavy feeling in my chest. The next morning, I woke up feeling a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. As much as I hated her for what she did, I also knew I needed to face the reality that I might be losing everything. I thought about everything. The years we spent together, the plans we made, the future I thought we'd have. I felt like I was stuck in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. But there was also this small voice inside that told me I had to stand up for myself. I couldn't let her get away with it. I had to decide whether to fight for this marriage or just accept that it was over. I knew I couldn't keep living in the fog of her lies. So I made a plan to gather all the evidence I could, to be prepared for whatever came next. I spent the day going through her emails, texts, and social media messages, trying to find anything I'd missed. I wanted to be ready for whatever she threw at me. I also started thinking about how I'd confront her again, not just with anger but with a plan, something that would force her to face the truth. I knew I needed to be strategic about it. I didn't want her to spin more lies or manipulate me further. That evening, I sat down with a clear mind and a heavy heart. I realized that I'd been holding on to a dream that was never real. She'd been lying, sneaking around, and playing me for a fool for months. It hurt knowing I had trusted her so much, only to find out she had been betraying me behind my back. But I also knew I had to stop pretending things were okay. I deserved honesty, respect, and someone who cared about me enough not to cheat and lie. So I made my decision. I wouldn't let her control the narrative anymore. I was going to confront her again, not with anger but with the truth, my truth. I'd tell her what I knew, how I felt, and what I was willing to do next. Because at the end of the day, I realized I wasn't just fighting for my marriage. I was fighting for my own dignity and self-respect. And I knew deep down I couldn't stay in a relationship built on lies anymore. That night, I sat alone in the quiet of my apartment, feeling like my entire world had shifted beneath my feet. Everything I'd believed in, my marriage, my future with Lisa, was now a shattered illusion. I'd spent days gathering evidence, rehearsing what I wanted to say, trying to brace myself for the inevitable confrontation. I knew I couldn't keep pretending anymore. It was time to face her, not just to expose her lies, but to finally confront the reality of what had been going on behind my back. When she got home later that evening, she was her usual bitchy self, acting like nothing had changed. I looked at her and felt a cold fury rise inside me. I no longer cared about her excuses or her manipulative smirk. I was done with the bullshit. I told her flatly, "Lisa, I know everything. I know about the meetings at the farm, the texts, your lies. You've been cheating on me with Martin, haven't you?" Her face twisted into a look of pure contempt. "You're crazy," she snapped. "You've always been paranoid. I don't know what you're talking about. You're just jealous because I have a career and I don't have time for your insecurities." I shook my head, feeling a mixture of disgust and heartbreak. "No, Lisa, I've seen it myself. I was hiding in that warehouse. I saw you with him. I saw how you look at him. And I saw your damn messages. You've been lying to me for months, and I'm done pretending I don't know the truth." Her eyes flickered for a brief second, and then she scoffed. "You're delusional. You're making this up. I don't have to explain myself to a jealous, insecure man like you." She took a step closer, her voice rising. "You're just accusing me because you're mad I don't give you enough attention. Well, I have a life too, Jake. You're the one who's always been so clingy." That was the moment I realized there was no reasoning with her anymore. I felt the last remnants of patience drain from my body. Everything I'd held on to for so long, the hope, the love, was gone. I looked at her with tears in my eyes, but also with the resolve of someone who'd finally had enough. "No, Lisa, I'm done. You messed up everything. I loved you and I trusted you, but you threw it all in the trash for some stupid affair. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do now, but I do know one thing: I will never forgive this. I deserve better than this betrayal." She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, trying to dismiss me again, but I wasn't going to let her. I told her, "This isn't just about the affair anymore. It's about respect, it's about honesty, And you lost both of those the moment you decided to lie and cheat. I paused, voice trembling but steady. I want a divorce. I want you out of my life. She stared at me, stunned for a moment, then scoffed again, dismissing everything I'd said. Fine, she spat. Go ahead, leave, you'll see. It's not going to change anything. You're just a jealous little man who can't handle a real woman. I felt a cold wave of finality wash over me. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was just a naive fool who believed. In Forever, who believed that love could conquer everything. But I also knew I couldn't keep living in this lie. I had to reclaim my dignity, rebuild my life from the ashes of her betrayal. The days that followed were some of the hardest I'd ever experienced. I moved out, packed my belongings, and cut ties with her. It hurt worse than I'd ever thought possible, but I knew I was doing the right thing. I realized that sometimes love isn't enough, especially when it's built on lies and betrayal. I learned that trust, once broken, is incredibly difficult to repair, and sometimes it's better to walk away. Looking back now, I see how naive I was to think that marriage was supposed to be forever. Lisa showed me that some people are just better at lying than others, and that the truth, no matter how painful, is worth facing. I've come to understand that self-respect is more important than holding onto a sinking ship. That betrayal cuts deep, but it also clears the way for new beginnings. I won't say I'm fully healed yet, but I know I'm stronger than I was. I learned that you have to be willing to face the ugly truth, even if it shatters everything you thought was real. And I hope anyone going through something similar learns to trust their instincts, listen to their gut, and never ignore the signs. Because sometimes, love isn't enough to keep you safe from betrayal. You've got to protect yourself first.